Gonzalez, and I'm a sophomore at University of Central Florida. I created this video that I'm about to show you about African American rhetoric that I'm discussing today in the Writing Across Difference course that I took with Professor Kareem a year ago. This class, as Professor Kareem previously stated, focused on writing across racial, linguistic, and cultural differences, prompting students to read authors and scholars like Zora Neale Hurston, and this year's 4C's program chair, Vershawn Ashanti Young. But what does it mean to be racially literate? To define that, I'm first going to define what I think it means to be literate. Literacy has been defined many different ways over the years. As a student, my understanding of literacy was the simplest and was just the ability to read and write. So when I signed up to be a writing and rhetoric major, I anticipated my classes to center around reading and writing. While the degree program for writing and rhetoric at UCF does place an emphasis on writing about writing, in recent years there's been an emphasis on the kinds of literacy that go beyond reading and writing. When Professor Kareem assigned my class a multimodal assignment, I had a lot of initial fears due to my limited understanding of what literacy is. I was a writer, and I had no idea how to express my thoughts in any way other than through writing. At the time, I didn't realize that literacy can be expressed and taught by means other than reading and writing. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Position Paper defines literacy as a continuum of learning and enabling individuals to achieve their goals, to develop their knowledge and potential, and to participate fully in their community and wider society. By this definition, many different things can be considered literacy. Written text, audio, visual, and multimodal text all fall under the scope of what literacy is. The key thing about literacy is that it socializes us in different ways for different situations and allows us to participate in society as a whole. I see racial literacy as a focus on racism in society through text in their various forms. Scholar Yolanda Celia-Ruiz defines racial literacy as a skill and practice in which students probe the existences of racism and examine the effects of race and other social constructs and institutionalized systems which affect their lived experiences. Racial literacy prompts students to not just identify situations where racism is involved, but to actually become advocates for ending racism in a country where it runs rampant. Celia-Ruiz hopes that through teaching racial literacy in the classroom, members of the dominant racial category can adopt an anti-racist stance. Racial literacy, then, is literacy because it promotes students to become active members of society. Racial literacy is something that prior to college I had little understanding or knowledge of. For example, even though I read To Kill a Mockingbird in the 9th grade, teachers were hesitant to point out racist ideologies in the text because they were afraid of retaliation from parents or the school board. So often the themes that we focused on in class had more to do with innocence than with race. In some states and counties, the books that deal with race, like To Kill a Mockingbird, are actually banned completely from reading lists. This raises some questions to consider, such as, how can we create a more racially conscious society if we're not being taught racial literacy at a younger age? Luckily, I have had the fortune of learning about racial literacy in college in the first class I took for my major, Writing Across Difference, and yet again in other courses for my major, like Essays, Cultural Commentary. But what about students who don't make it to college? Or students that are studying medicine or business and not writing rhetoric? Are they not being taught the importance of racial literacy? My video is comprised of the things I know to be true due to my racially literate instruction. While still meeting the guidelines of the assignment and talking about how Black discourses work in communicating across racial linguistic difference, I also wanted my video to say something greater than that. How did great rhetoricians like Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X influence people to rise to the civil rights movement? How do words create meaning in a way so impactful that changes were made in favor of Black people in a society that had favored white people for all of its existence? Further still, I wanted my video to say something about how the words of men like King and Malcolm X are still encouraging people to fight against racism today, when Black men and women are being shot down for simply existing. How does communicating across racial linguistic difference make the Black Lives Matter movement more impactful? And how can we continue to make strides towards equality through effective communication? I realized these goals were asking a lot of a 4-minute video made by a student with no previous video experience. Making my video serve multiple purposes was difficult because I struggled with making my point both academically and socially, but I tried to accomplish it through images from the past during the civil rights movement, parallel with images from the last several years, which hopefully you will see in this clip. I aimed to make a video that did more than just analyze the effects of repetition and rhythm in a speech. I wanted my video to move people in a way that Malcolm X and King did, to make them feel that sense of excitement and purpose that the people who heard those words firsthand did so many years ago. Authors like Mpandu and Tal provide valuable insight into the importance of rhythm and repetition in an orator's speech or writer's essay. King and Malcolm X and countless other speakers not featured in my video were excellent speakers because they knew how to use repetition and rhythm to their advantage. They knew how to rally the masses at a time when our country desperately needed change. Writing about writing, particularly when studying racial literacy, allows people to understand the importance of speeches such as theirs. Had I not took this class, and had I not understood the effectiveness of repetition when speaking across difference, I probably still wouldn't know how King prompted the change that he did to an entire nation like he did. Writing about writing allows us to analyze why King's I Have a Dream speech was so powerful. Writing about writing gives today's generation of students, such as myself and Yana, a chance to write speeches and essays as effective and revolutionary as King and Malcolm X did time and time again. We are again a nation in need of change, and it is only when we study the words of people who effected change in the past that we can one day hope to be able to do it again. Thank you.